So welcome to the August Reiki Reiju, and this theme that we're going to talk through, the Lion's Gate, is obviously it happens every year, right? Around 8/8, the Lion's Gate is this portal that we go through as an opportunity, and every year it's an opportunity for us to take with us that which still serves us and to release that which no longer serves us. So it's a very powerful stepping in, and the mythology around the Lion's Gate is that there are two lions kind of guarding the entrance of the portal, and one is a lion of yesterday and one is a lion of tomorrow. So it's almost like we enter into this timelessness, if you like, and that portal opens like a couple of weeks before. So some would say already July, around the 25th, 26th, we start to enter into this process that we go through of releasing. And as we release, like in the chit chat before the recording, we're all at different stages of this. So some of us are already cruising through, and we're already, to kind of noticing that things are in flow, and that there are things that are opportunities that are opening that are very smooth, but we've kind of planned them. And then there's another angle whereby some of us are still releasing. So this whole process takes place over about 3 weeks. So there's a couple of weeks before the Lion's Gate at 8/8, and then there's the week afterwards as well. And this year also we had that very powerful full moon around the 11th, 12th also. And so what I've noticed is there's an awful lot of emotional release coming up. And again, as I said before the recording, some of it is not necessarily from you. So there's a lot of projection energy is what I've noticed. So people coming up with their emotional releases, but then maybe misunderstanding that it's their own responsibility, their own issues, their own kind of background noise that they're dealing with, and then projecting it on others, whether that's blame or whether that's kind of advice, you need to do this or you need to do that, or whether it's just kind of trying to prove that they're in the right by making you feel wrong. And particularly for those of you who are starting to embark on a different way of being, because one of the things definitely that I think this whole process with COVID has opened up is more individuality, more authenticity. So that means that things that maybe isn't quite along the grain of what people expect a life to look like is really starting to break down. And I know that's been breaking down for a while, but it's almost an acceleration of this process now as we go into the next stage of really being authentic and true to ourselves. So this theme of authenticity has been going on for years now, but it's the calling is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So this is something that I think all of us need to start paying attention to. What, as you're moving through the Lion's Gate, and honestly, what belief systems, structures, or ways of being are actually obsolete now for you, or you would like to be obsolete? Like what are you ready to let go of? And I think as we move through the years and post-COVID, this I think will accelerate, becomes more and more important to follow your own truth and not what anybody else is wanting you to do or telling you to do or anything like this. And I feel like a broken record because I'm constantly saying this, but what I'm noticing for myself is that every stage that we uncover every year as we go through, there's more and more opportunity to really let stuff go, or that some of the opportunities that might be arising for you might be quite surprising, that maybe you haven't thought about before or thought would be possible for you before. So one of the things that I would recommend that you start really looking at is when you interact with others because it does seem to be coming up, particularly around relationships, is as they are unfolding themselves, because all of us are going through this process. It's not a personal, individual process, right? Every single person you know is going through this same process. Some of us are more aware of it than others, for sure, but all of us are going through this metamorphosis. So as you're interacting with others who maybe are not so involved in this work, so maybe they're not talking about it, maybe they're not even aware that they're moving towards more authenticity. If that comes out as projection, or if that comes out as an outburst of energy and outburst of emotion, can you just hold the space without taking on their outburst? So what I mean by that is, if a friend maybe comes up to you and then starts offloading, are you in a space now where you can just allow that offloading to happen in the air, just into Mother Nature, if you like, and you're just witnessing that? Or do you still feel that urge to kind of swoop in and fix it and help and take on those burdens? Because that kind of helping is long gone. Like everybody has to step into their own power now, and everybody has to stop kind of trying to project and pass on their own issues to others. So your role in this is to see when there's projection happening, or when offloading is happening, and to just allow the offloading into the air. It's not for you to take on. And if it is projection, is to simply see that they are projecting. Now, what I mean by projection is when people are offering advice, or when they're offering information, or they're giving you their opinion in a way that comes out of a space of you not asking for it. And it's a very interesting discernment, because if you have an issue and you're trying to work through it, and you ask for someone's advice and they give you their advice, that's interaction or discussion or helpful, because you're trying to gain opinions. But if you're in a situation where you're just minding your own business, pretty much, you're just having a discussion, and somebody kind of offloads their opinion onto you without you having asked for it, that's projection. Now, that kind of projection may or may not be helpful for you. Like maybe there's some stuff in there that you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But more often than not, when people are doing that, it's almost like they're talking to themselves. This is what they think they should be doing, and they're literally projecting it onto you as an excuse to voice their own inner concerns, or their own inner belief systems, or whatever it is. Now, when people are doing that, it's the same as holding space for someone that's offloading a deep sorrow, a grief, that kind of thing. It's almost like they just want to voice it out. And so you don't have to take that on. You're simply witnessing this offloading. And the way that I often have it in my mind as a way to help me is the air around is alive and is just hearing. And in that hearing, it dissipates that energy from that person, like a healing, really. And so it's just taking that information and dispersing it or transmuting it back into nature, because all beliefs and all thoughts are simply uprisings of energy. And so we uprise the thought or the energy, and then as it comes out, however it comes out, whether we think it out or whether we speak it out or cry it out, it goes back then into the natural order. So we don't have to take someone else's belief and stick it onto ourselves. We can witness it going back into nature. So I don't know if that's helpful, because it's a very strong energy at the moment of emotional release. And so if you're not careful, if you're around a lot of people doing that, you're going to get splattered. Right? You're going to just have it hit you left, right, and center. And that's going to really throw you off balance, as well, which is not what you need because you're busy doing your own releasing. So I'm kind of hoping that's helpful because, yeah, I've been having a lot of that happening to me recently. And in the beginning, there was one day around the 4th or 5th that I just had everybody that I knew just, I was like, what is going on? But actually, luckily, I just saw that, this is nothing to do with me. And then you start to notice that there's just a lot of offloading. And if I'm really honest, I was doing my own offloading too. So being able to take responsibility for that and participate in that more mindfully so that I'm not projecting my stuff over somebody else, that maybe I'm just giving it more as I'm just talking to myself. And so then if you do journal, very helpful, because then you're projecting it onto paper instead of onto somebody else. And so just being aware that this energy is very, very strong at the moment. And from everything I'm reading, I hate to say this, but it's going to continue into August. So apparently just all the alignments and the moon and the whatever is just creating a very emotional August. So we might have a couple more months of this to work through, and just start being aware in yourself what advice you're trying to give to other people that is not asked for, and just notice what kind of opinions are starting to come out of you, again, unasked for. Now, if someone's asking for your advice and you're sharing, or in that kind of relationship with somebody where they are clearly asking for help, that's different. But if you're just noticing that you're having a conversation with someone and you're like, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, and I don't agree with the way you're doing this, and you do blah, 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 that's you projecting. So just starting to notice, and then instead of projecting it all over someone else, actually writing it down on paper, and then having a look as if that's advice for you. So that's another very helpful way of doing it. If you're saying to someone else, you shouldn't be doing this, then just turn it around onto yourself. It's like, okay, what advice am I giving myself right now? And does that feel true for me? Or again, if it is a release, is this me releasing an old belief structure that actually I don't really agree with anymore? And so here you are giving old advice. It's almost like often we have all these belief structures and we're dumping it out into the air to be assimilated into nature. Like you're releasing your belief systems, you're releasing your opinions into the air. And in this way, it can diffuse back into nature. So you don't have to carry it so strongly or so tightly anymore. So I know it's a very subtle thing, but just starting to have more awareness and just starting to loosen your hold around your opinions, and just seeing your opinions as just energy. That's all it is. It's just energy arising and then subsiding. And if you can loosen any tightness or constriction around any opinion that you're holding at the moment, it will really start to feel much better in your system. Because you can hold opinions, but the issue is when you hold opinions very tightly. Because when they're very tight, then that's the only way. And so new opportunities and new ideas and new directions can't come to you because you're so busy holding this kind of belief structure in your system. And you can only see things that validate those belief structures. So the more you can loosen your opinions, and the more you can just allow other people to have their opinions, it doesn't have to impact you at all, right? They're just delivering it back into nature. Then it just allows you to really feel into the truth that is coming up. So belief systems, structures, rigidity, opinions, all this kind of thing is the structure of our personality or ego. But as we know, when we do our self-Reiki, as we drop past, below, behind, under, whatever you want to call it, all of these blah, 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 blah of the mind, we come into a deep peace. And that deep peace and connectedness is what is our true essence. So that's our truth. And then all the belief structures and blah, blah, blah opinions is kind of like the way we orient our truth into the world, helpfully or not helpfully. That's up to you to decide, right? But ideally, that structure should serve us. Now, when we come into our Reiki practice, the purpose, or one of the purposes of our Reiki practice, is to be able to drop below or behind all those belief structures so that we can rest in the peace of our bigger truth, which is essentially harmony and balance and contentedness and calm. So when we do these guided meditations, it's really just to reconnect ourselves into that. And hopefully the more times we do this, the more times we practice with our Reiki, then the more times we can keep the connection with our bigger truth longer and longer and longer, so that we can gain more and more insights. So the way that we do that is I will invite you to bring your hands into Gassho prayer pose. I do turn off my video. I just prefer to do meditations without my video on. So once we come into Gassho, I will guide you through the meditation. But one of the things we've been experimenting with, and I think is very effective, is for you all to call in the attunement yourselves. Now, what I've noticed with the morphic field of the attunements is that it's really building, like Reiki is building into such a powerful morphic field or sense of tangibility, that we can now start to pull in that Reiki very effectively without somebody like me doing an attunement for you. So now, obviously, I am doing an attunement at the same time, but my feeling is that when we come together as co-creating the attunement, it's much more fun and much more powerful and much more empowering for you as well. So we're going to do that, and then we're just going to go through a guided meditation, and the group energy will do its work, and then we'll pop back up again in about 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off my video, and I'm going to ask you to bring your hands into Gassho prayer pose. And bringing your hands in prayer pose against the sternum, the heart center. And we just start off taking a couple of breaths. Just starting to feel into the energy. And as you breathe, dropping your attention away from the mind, down into the heart, into the chest. And every exhale, just allowing your body to relax. And then bringing your attention right up to the crown, the top of the head. And imagine you have 1,000-petaled lotus perched in between the skull. So right at the top of the brain, it's coming out, peeking out through the top of the head, and you're just very gently opening it. You may even feel like sensations around the crown, almost like an openness, as if you're opening a channel of energy at the top of your head, which is the chakra system, opening it so that the Reiki attunement can enter in through the crown all the way down into the heart center, down through all the chakras. And you're simply inviting it, asking for a heart attunement. And we're going to breathe that heart attunement from the crown into the heart center and then out, down the arms, into the hands. Perhaps you notice some tingling. Maybe the hands start to heat up, or just a sense of deep relaxation and calm. And now, whenever you're ready, bringing your hands anywhere on your body where you can receive Reiki. You may place a hand on your chest, one on the belly. Sometimes people prefer to just place their hands on their thighs or their knees. And taking a moment just to connect in with the hands and the Reiki flowing through the hands into the body. And as you do this, we're just going to scan the body, making sure everything is relaxed. Relaxing around the forehead, the eyes, into the cheeks and the jaw. Relaxing the tongue, the neck and shoulders. All the way down the arms. Back into the chest, just watching the breath. Every exhale, relaxing. Down into the belly, relaxing the back, all the way into the hips. Down the legs to the feet, just noticing the feet on the floor. And allowing the minor chakras in the soles of the feet to open, grounding you through the floorboards, down into Mother Earth. And then just breathing in that energy, the vastness, the deep support. Just allowing that up through the feet, back into the body. And now we're going to extend into the circle, just feeling in energetically to everybody else listening to this meditation, who's on the call right now with us, but also that timelessness of people tuning in later. You might be able to feel them as well. Just allowing that circle to grow into its natural support. And you might even notice that within every single energy, there is something that is exactly the same that flows through us all, the Reiki energy, as it flows in and out. And then we also have a unique personality. You might notice this as different feelings or energies or colors, sensations. So there's this sense of oneness, but also of individual uniqueness. And just taking a moment to really feel into that and how wonderful that is. Each and every one of us contributing something so different. And yet there is a deep unity, a deep love that flows through everything. And as you experience that, just starting to work backwards. Where does this feeling come from within your own body? And you may be directed to the heart, but maybe not, maybe somewhere else, deeper. And if the mind starts to get busy, just allowing the thoughts as if they are also coming and going, but not attaching to them or paying them any attention, but focusing instead on the oneness, that which connects us all. If you feel Reiki as a sensation, perhaps a heat or a tingling, or just that feeling of calmness, just begin to dive into that sensation as a starting point. And simply allowing that sensation to become the focus. Maybe it grows. Maybe it expands. And what is under that sensation? What is under the heat or the tingles or the waves of calmness? And diving into it in a very open way, not looking for anything, but more like immersing yourself in it. If you feel a oneness, allowing yourself to sink into that oneness, to expand with it rather than contract. And remembering to breathe, exhale to relax. And noticing when the mind starts to clutch, when it starts to ask questions, and simply allowing it to release. All we're doing in this meditation is to experience the oneness, the deeper connection, the peace. That's all we're looking for, is that deep sense of peace underneath the thinking. But you could also play with words like behind the thinking, before the thinking. Or you could simply focus on relaxing and allowing the body, as it feels more and more relaxed and surrendered, to simply take you into that deep contentedness, where all is well. And within that wellness, noticing that there is also a timelessness. And a timeliness, everything unfolding in its perfect time, without any need for you to push or grasp or worry. Noticing the order, or another word could be unfolding. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is stressful. And soaking all your cells into this knowing, relaxing everything. Relaxing all the organs, all the brain cells, the chi, the energy, the soul. As if you're immersing yourself in a deep bath. Simply floating, expanding. And if you notice any areas of tension or any areas that are holding, simply bringing your attention to it without trying to change it in any way. Being okay if it stays as it is. Being okay with any tension at all, or any pain, or any niggling thoughts. Just allowing it exactly as it is. Just in the background. You don't have to engage, agree, disagree. It's just noise. You are not the noise. You are not the pain or the thought. and staying in this beautiful energy. Just noticing when you move away from it in the coming days, what pulls you back into the thinking mind or into reaction or into stress. And remembering this feeling, the peace, the okayness, the unfolding, the trust. And starting to drop into this more and more. Leaving behind the drama, the projections of others. Being in the world, but not of the world. Starting to deepen your breath now. And as you do so, just noticing the body, perhaps swaying a little bit, wiggling your fingers and toes, raising your arms above your head, giving yourself a little wiggle or a stretch or a shake. And whenever you're ready, opening your eyes.